So what's on the Oklahoma Guru's mind today? Well, I wanted to continue on with the stories of my life that compel me to validate that Joseph Smith was a prophet of God, that he actually seen the Father and the Son as he reported. I want to go back a little bit in my family, and exclusively a woman named Clara Cooley, who's my great grandmother and raised me for since I was born till I was probably about 11. Well, see, in our family in the Chickasaw side, uh, we've got some pretty special things that happened to us, and so one day back in the 1930s, I believe, um, or about there. Um, Probably about 1936 or so. She was laying in her bed in a one-room house. That means the kitchen and the dining room and the bedroom and everything was right there in the same room. So she was laying on her bed, and the rest of the family was sitting at the table, and she said she looked over on the side of the bed and seen her oldest son's laying in a coffin. And she told the rest of the family as they sit, and they said, "Oh, Ma, you're crazy." Well, a week later, Marion was shot dead with a 22 rifle. It was not any. There was no uh, investigation to say that the guy that shot him was doing it wrongfully. Just it was there was a bunch of kids. He was 12 years old, and there were a bunch of kids out playing around, and sure enough, they had that 22, and he got shot. And they say that even the flower arrangement that my great grandmother described, that that was the same flower arrangement that was on the coffin, and everything else was identical to what she's seen. So let's go to my life, and I'll describe an event in my life that was probably the first time that really anything really like wow happened to me. I was again. It's probably about a year or so after I joined the church or went back to the church at 33. Is probably about 34 by that time, and so I'd had already had that spiritual experience with the fact that I knew that Joseph Smith was a prophet of God, but this was a little bit heavier. See, whenever I came home from work every day, I'd come home and watch the BYU channel, and on the on that lecture that this lady was given, she said she quoted a verse from Doctrine and Covenants, and it read, "The field is white and ready for harvest." And I'll tell you, I never felt such a inrush of energy in my whole life. If I was sitting there and I had tears just streaming out of my eyes, I was scared, I was happy, it felt great, but I didn't want to move because I wanted that feeling to last for as long as it could. And it was quite an event. I could feel something enter inside my body from outside. It was amazing. That was on a Monday. Well, I've learned throughout my lifetime that whenever I have these episodes in my life, these spiritual awakenings or spiritual uh, manifestations of events, they always the event that validates them happens either 3 days later or 3 months later. Well, 3 days later, this woman and her granddaughter came to our house on Wednesday, and it was in the morning, probably about 10 or 11 or in the morning, and me and who's my ex-wife now, we were supposed to go to the temple to see my brother come out of the temple. I wasn't temple worthy at the time, but we'd meet him, go to the reception and all that after they got married. Actually, the reception happened later that week or something like that. But anyway, we wanted to meet him and take some pictures with him and congratulate them when they got out of the temple. But that happened at 2 o'clock. But here we are sitting with this woman who happened to be black and her granddaughter, and we started talking about what the babysitting schedule would be and whether we could watch her on Sunday. And of course, I mentioned that we go to church on Sunday if that's okay with her, and she said it was okay. And we hadn't uh, uh, talked about anything about Mormonism. We were just talking about church in general. But we, laid everything out and everything looked pretty good. And then I mentioned to the woman that we needed to get going to the temple because we were going to meet my brother after he got married. And the woman, who's probably about 65, 70 years old, says, "Are you Mormon?" And I said, "Yes, we are." And she says, "I'm Mormon too, and I really want to go back to church." Well, and so we talked a little bit more, and then, of course, we talked some more, and sure enough, that lady came back to church after 13 years being out. She came back to church, and not only that, the granddaughter got baptized into the church, and the grandmother brought a bunch of other relatives who got baptized, probably about 15 of them that I can recollect. There was a lot. 15 people from that one grandmother got baptized into the church. So what a validation of a spiritual experience. Um, and that woman, now the kids kind of left the church, but they all got baptized. But that woman stayed in the church, went to the temple, and got her endowments, and stayed faithful all the way up to her death just 2 years ago. So a lot of people say, well, this spiritual manifestation of the Spirit that dwells within you and gives you the nice fuzzy feeling or whatever to make you think that what you're reading in the Book of Mormon is true and all that, or them are just things that their brain is interjecting into you, and that there's no way that there's anything that an outside force or a spirit that ever could dwell like that or ever could exist. Well, I'll tell you right now, from the fact that occasion happened, where I felt the Spirit enter into me on a Monday, and it entered into me after I'd heard a verse, the field is white and ready for harvest, and I'd heard that verse 100 times over when I was a kid, and I've heard it since then, and I've talked about it since then, but not ever has that verse ever been quoted, or I ever thought about that verse, that verse, that an event ever happened like that again. And then you have the validation of that quote from the Doctrine and Covenants laid right in my lap 3 days later. So you guys can think whatever you want, but I know it happened to me, and I got many more stories like that to share with you. Like I said, for the last 21 years, 22 years, and a whole lifetime, I've been uh, bombarded by some just miraculous events. So I figured I'd share this story just to maybe dispel some of the ideas that, that these feelings that you get from the spirit are just made up in your mind. Because I'll tell you right now, that ain't true for me at all. Well, you guys have a blessed day. Been good talking at you. And we'll see you again sometime soon. This is the Oklahoma Guru signing out. So just drop me a line in the comments section. Like if you would like to, or, well, I messed that up. Like, share, subscribe, comment. You know what to do. You guys have a great day. Bye.